Good morning.
Morning. Hello. Nice to meet you. Glad that you're here.
Based on the experience from the first info session, I think with Ina, we will wait a couple of minutes, perhaps, yeah, four more minutes and start at 10:05, since we
Yes.
might have a lot of people still joining. But in the meantime, I guess we can all introduce ourselves in the chat. It's nice to have an idea where people are coming from.
Yes, that would be great. Say hello and where you're from. And depending on from where you dial in, is it good morning or good afternoon? We are quite a we have quite a big base to draw from. Wonderful. So many countries, so many people. Wonderful to see you all. And we are very excited that you're all interested in the Scaling Grounds programs. So it's really nice to meet you. Very eagerly waiting for your questions and giving our answers. Yeah. Also, feel free to introduce yourself and your organization that you represent, and also if there is, if you want to connect with other participants here and share your Instas or your LinkedIn profiles, feel free to do that because we do not have this kind of within those 2 hours, we don't have the possibility to get to know each other in depth, of course. So feel free to use this as a platform to connect with each other. Mhm. We're getting more and more participants. That is really great. Yes. Please note that at the moment we disabled the possibility to unmute yourself, but later on when we're in our Q&A session, then you will be able to unmute yourself and talk.
Tiana, who
Okay.
is controlling the waiting room, let us know when you feel like we are reaching a
Mm.
saturation, and we will stop.
I think we can start and I will monitor it until people
I'm
all
very sorry. I need one more minute.
sure.
Give me a sec, please. Okay. So,
So just everyone is aware, this session is also being recorded. So please, if you don't want to be in the video, you can always just switch off your camera as well.
mm,
Ina,
yes, I'm ready. I'm very sorry.
yes,
That was.
no, it's all good. You can take your time, but just so you know that the waiting room has calmed down. So I think we're ready to start to get going.
Wonderful. Yes, then let's start. Very welcome to you all. Good morning. I'm dialing in from Berlin, Germany, so this is quite a morning for me. But of course, maybe there are others that have an afternoon or a noon, whatever. Welcome at our informative session number 2 for the Scaling Grounds program. My name is Ina. I'm from Nexus Institute in Berlin, and I am part of the consortium that, facilitates the calls. I'm very glad to meet you and to be with you here. And we are very eager to answer all your questions regarding those programs and are even more eager to receive all your applications. So very welcome here. And I hope we can answer all your questions and prepare you for submitting your full proposals. So we would like to, what we're going to do right now is we are preparing a little who is who. We are telling you who the consortium is, and we also have a little icebreaker prepared for you. So we have a little bit insight in who will join this call today. This is going to be done via Mentimeter, so don't worry, we are not unmuting each other and telling everybody who is. That would be too much of a hassle with 150 participants here. We then want to tell you, I'll give you an overview about what ScaleDEM is all about. So what is our question? What is our remit? What do we want to find out? We give you a little more in-depth information of what we mean by scaling and our theory of scaling that we are implementing or are building. And then we will give you a short overview over the 2 programs that you can apply for twinning and piloting. Then afterwards, we will give you a small overview on the eligibility and the selection process and the next steps during this application process. And hopefully all the questions are already answered there. Or maybe most of the questions are already answered with our input. And after we gave you the overview, there is an open Q&A session where you can ask your questions. You can do this either via chat function, so type in your question in the chat, and we have at least 2 persons from the team who will answer in written to your questions in chat, but you also have the possibility to ask them verbally. Then you can unmute and we will take you time by time. So we are who are we, so to say? I'm here with the team that facilitates the Scaling Ground programs. We are here with Niels from Democracy X. He is waving into the camera, and he is responsible for the twinning program. It's also me, Ina, from the Nexus Institute. I will explain some things regarding the piloting program. We have Camille from Missions Publiques. She's the overall project coordinator and the heart and the brain of the project, so to say. And we also have Tiana from European Capital of Democracy. She is responsible for the eligibility process and the selection jury. We also have, of course, a very big consortium and have the support of Björn Bedstedt, also from Democracy X, from Thomas Blanchet, who is unfortunately cannot join today. We have Antoine Verne, also from Missions Publiques here, and also Stéphane Sindelar. He is in the meeting with us today and also able to contribute if needed. So, who are we and who are you? We have a little Mentimeter survey prepared. So give me one sec. I have to. Do you have the link at hand at the moment? because, okay, so we would like to invite you to join this Mentimeter survey, which will start in a second. So please scan with your with your smartphone this QR code and give me a thumbs up if everything is in. Yes, we have the Mentimeter link in the chat. Thank you very much, Tiana, for that. So we would like to start with question 1. What snacks keeps you going during the... Okay, this is something I have to update, not the last remote meeting of a long workday, but maybe the first remote meeting on a long workday. So is it more fruit? Is it more chocolates or gummy bears? Maybe not like at 10 o'clock, but maybe even then. Is it nuts? Is it coffee? Or is it pure willpower? For me today, it would definitely be coffee and maybe some fruit, but maybe you have a different input on that.
And Ina, I stopped sharing so you can share your screen and display the answers.
Oh, yes, thank you very much. I'm going to display the answers because this is very exciting to see. We have like the majority goes on coffee. I think this is a very universal law. In the morning, you need some coffee or maybe black tea, whatever. But yeah, this is something that really keeps us going. Thank you very much. The next question would be, and I am sorry, I have to, okay, sorry. This did not work well. Give me one moment. The next question would be, please type in what country or countries is your organization located? Or if you have a consortium, in what countries is your consortium located? Take some time. We have a lot of participants from Germany, from Spain, Belgium, Hungary, Italy, France, but also Scotland, UK, Greece, Zimbabwe, United Kingdom, Helsinki, Bosnia. Awesome. It's such a joy to see so many countries represented in here and being connected to this call. This is really something that gives us great joy. Thank you very much. I see Romania, Denmark, Austria also, the Netherlands. Wonderful. We are very interested and very eager to see what your yes, what your democratic innovation looks like and what you're proposing and what we can learn from you. So thank you very much for that. There are still submissions coming in. So let's go on and go to the next question. With what kind of organizations are you applying? Just very interesting for us. Are you more from the university or research organizations? Are you small and middle entrepreneurs like practitioners or like commercial companies? Are you representing a public authority or a civil society organization, maybe also a foundation? And if you can't find yourself in those things, then you can point in other. You can also submit several answers to that. There seems to be kind of a very similar picture to the first informative session that we had last week. There were also like the majority of participants were from civil society organizations. This is probably kind of in the nature of the thing and the call, but thank you very much. Cami, you can still see my screen, right? Okay,
Yes,
wonderful.
yes.
So we have a majority of civil society organizations, but also public authorities, research institutes, foundations. Wonderful. This is very great. And then we have a last question that is something that we, of course, are very interested in. What scaling ground program would you be interested in? Are you more for the piloting? Are you more for the twinning? Or are you still unsure and need help or guidance or more information to decide which program you want to apply for? Ah, that's very interesting. We have about half of the participants are here for the piloting. Very nice. But there's also quite a number that is still unsure and needs more information. I think the last time we had like the majority of piloting and unsures were not that many, I believe, but it really doesn't matter. We are very happy to answer all your questions today. Okay, so we received our answers and we see our picture here. So thank you very much for putting your answers in. And this is it. Thank you for this small introduction round. Now we have a little further picture on who you are and from what point of view and what country you are joining us today. So let's go on. Maybe Camille, you can, yes, you're already in the process of sharing the
I'm in the process of
next
taking over.
slides.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you, Ina, and thank you to all of you to playing along with our little Mentimeter. It's quite interesting to see that you need less willpower to start the first day morning. I guess the weekend is looming, so suddenly it's easier to get up in the morning. Another interesting result is perhaps you notice quite a lot of non-Europeans also among you, and I guess that's one of the particularity also of our calls and of our project is that eligibility in terms of country or where your legal entity is established is quite broad. So already anticipating a few questions that we might receive from experience from the info session one. Yes, Turkey is eligible in case there are some Turkish friends here. But if you also have, I saw also Indonesia and Philippines, we can also answer to you in the chat for these particular countries later on. But you are very welcome. Thank you also for letting us know that perhaps you need more guidance between the twinning and the pilots. I think it's quite good for us to know because originally we had designed this info session to divide between two subgroups, the pilots and the twinning, and we realized after the first info session that actually most of your questions were very relevant for both program, and actually the need was more to have a bit more clarity on where your project would better fit rather than being perhaps stuck in a path without answering and without hearing the answers of the others. So we will stay all together in this group and you will have an opportunity to ask, of course, your questions. If they become really, I would say, you really want detail or feedback on your individual project, we will redirect you to another tool you will see. But we hope that at the end of this 1 hour and a half, you have more clarity. And it's my honor to start. So my name is Camille. I am the project coordinator of ScaleDEM. I'm here with my colleague Antoine. And before delving really into what is the pilot and what is the twinning, we want you a bit to understand what is ScaleDEM, what are we looking for with these scaling grounds, with these two programs, and how they fit in the bigger picture that is our project, because that's also important for you to understand when you will build, the narrative around your application. So the first thing for you to know, in case you are not so familiar with EU-funded project, is that ScaleDEM is an Horizon Europe. And it's an Horizon Europe that is what we call a coordination and support action, which means that our role is not so much to do only research, it is also to help actually the real operationalized implementation of projects on the ground. And that's where also the scaling grants come in. You have met 4 organizations. Ina kindly introduced us, but we are a few more. Our academic partners are not here. Our Colombian partners are not here. We have also some think tankers who are with us who are not here today. But we are quite a broad group. And we are brought together by a joint objective, which is really try to identify what are the types of democratic innovations that really work, that have the most potential for change, and we want to scale those. And I'm stopping here, anticipating another question that might come up later. What do we mean by democratic innovations? We didn't say on purpose citizen assemblies, for example. We didn't say on purpose civic tech or digital platform. Why? Because all of those and more are actually eligible and falling under the scope of our project. So by scaling democratic innovation, and when we talk about democratic innovation in our project, we are really interested in all of these processes and new way of taking decisions that bring a bigger diversity of voice in the processes. So it is pretty broad and we are pretty generous in our understanding, and we differentiate between different families of democratic innovation. But all of these are actually, I would say, complementary, and they're not often mutually exclusive. Sometimes, for example, a participatory innovation can also be deliberative. And perhaps in your project, you are yourself thinking about something deliberative coupled with something digital, for example. So we are not purist in that sense in our project. We are also open to hybridity, perhaps to new type of democratic innovation that we did not think about. What matters to us is that whatever innovation it is that you are thinking about in your project, they help bring citizens closer to decision making. That is the bottom line. And what we want to do is we want to select those that are the most promising and make them happen, and understand how we can make them happen even more. And so that's the main objective of our project. At the end of our 3.5 years of existence, we want to have built what we call the grounded theory of scaling. So we do have a little research objective, truth is. The thing is, we are not going to empirically, that's not the only thing we're going to be doing in our project, just look at old projects and see how this is going to happen. We actually want to test some of these hypotheses. And that's also where you come in. We are interested in new ideas because we know that we might not have all the good hypotheses at hand. And you need to understand that if you join the scaling grants for the piloting and the twinning, you will be kind of joining our consortium in a way. So it's a way also of joining the consortium. You would be the bricks in addition to the 13 organization, helping us through the project that you will be implementing to test a certain number of hypotheses to understand how democratic innovation actually scale. So there is a little bit for us, the ScaleDEM crew, a little bit of a research agenda, if you want. You do not necessarily need to share it, but I think it is important for you to understand it. Now that I've said that, I've said a little bit what we mean by democratic innovation. The next question is, of course, what do we mean by scaling? A very legitimate question because it's becoming quite a popular word these days. The good news for you is here again, we are actually pretty generous in our understanding of scaling. What is, I think, making ScaleDEM a little bit unique compared to other projects is that we're not so interested in creating or testing new democratic innovation. We are interested in understanding what blocks democratic innovation that we know are working. We know that a good participatory budget can work. We know that a good citizen engagement platform can work. We know that a good mini public can work, but we also know that there are structural constraints, or that there are still little margins of improvement that we need to tap into in order to overcome some key obstacles. And so what we want is to kind of bridge, we want to add this last brick to bridge a bit this, what we call scaling gap. And we have identified different kinds of gap. So we are entering, if you want, the problem through the barriers. What stops my democratic innovation from really scaling? And we have identified these 4 dimensions. And actually, I am pretty sure all of your projects, all the things that you are considering, even if you're not using the same terminology than we are, is falling within one of these blocks. The first one is what we called perhaps there is a problem. You have a good project, but you don't manage to scale it out. What does that mean? I have a good project, but I don't manage to scale it out. Concretely, it means that you don't manage to reach out to enough people. So it's not, making, I would say, a big change, because you only manage to reach out to perhaps, I don't know, 100 people in your participatory budgeting, or 50 in your mini public. Or perhaps it works in your city, but not in the metropolitan area around your city, which is a problem, because actually nowadays often we work at different level of governance. So here the idea of scaling out is just I need to reach bigger numbers somehow, reach bigger number in terms of the population, reaching bigger number perhaps by bringing another city or another sector in. For example, I don't necessarily need to do it by just involving citizens from my participatory budgeting for my local municipal issues. Perhaps I can also do that within my own city hall. I don't know. So sometimes it's not necessarily making one innovation bigger. It's also taking this innovation and doing it somewhere else, so we can touch different people. So that's for scaling out. And I think that's perhaps the easiest one, is the most intuitive one. It's really the one by getting something small and getting it bigger. Then there is the scaling high. And the scaling high, perhaps it will be something that will sound extremely familiar for those of you who work in public institutions. Scaling out high is typically, I know very well how to do a process, and I am doing it. And it works kind of well in terms of the inclusion, in terms of the process itself, it has integrity. I managed to have people coming in, but I struggle to really make an impact at the policy level. So it's really more the problem of institutional embedding, the political uptake, the legal embedding, also how do you formalize legally, procedurally, these kind of processes, often at the institutional political level. So this is, I would say, another kind of classic problem, but there are solutions to this. So this is a typical, if you have a project, this is a bit the problem that you are identifying as the most salient for you. You would definitely be a relevant project for us under the scaling high category. Then there is the scaling in. The scaling in is perhaps perhaps for the CSOs among you, or the practitioners, but and I would say the nerds among you who are really into the methods. Of course, we know how to do democratic innovation. I think that's a common assessment within the ScaleDEM group. But you are free to disagree. We know pretty well how to do these processes. So when it comes to improving the methods, improving the quality standard, improving the inclusiveness, we are doing pretty well. That said, there are still some aspects that can be improved. So the scaling in, it's if you have a democratic innovation that you feel is pretty good, you're almost there, but for whatever reason, for example, you systematically fail to have a good governance process, you systematically fail to engage a particular population, for example, a particular minority group. You particularly fail, yes, I already mentioned the governance, or so the scaling in is more if you really want to focus on the method and keep improving the method itself, because you think one of the reasons you fail somehow to really have impact is because your method itself can be still refined. So that would be for the scaling in. And then there is the scaling deep, which is perhaps the more novative, I would say, or perhaps the bit more complicated one to grasp, which relate to not so much the impact of whatever innovation you are working on. It's not the impact on the policy making, or it's not the number of people that you are reaching, or it's not the quality or the inclusiveness. It's not the quality of your method itself, but it's I would say the capacity of the democratic innovation to really make a long-lasting, to really have a long-lasting marks on people's, I would say, political imaginaries, political attitudes, political behaviors. So it relates much more to what we would call an acculturation. So if you, for example, are a CSO working a lot on political imaginaries, if your topic touch on also with citizen education, art, media, scaling in is really something of bit of an untapped, also scaling gap that we would be and we are really interested in exploring in ScaleDEM. So those are a little bit how we have identified the next frontiers, if you want, or the next the key key obstacles for democratic innovation to really scale. So you see, it's quite broad, and I'm pretty sure when you think about your project, try to think about the problem that you are actually trying to tackle. Pretty sure it falls within one or two of these categories. And what is really interesting also for you to ask yourself when you'll be putting together an application is, how is, for example, one category relating to another? Because those are not mutually exclusive. Of course, there is perhaps one that you are more focused in. Me and my problem in my municipality is really the scaling high. Or me, I'm a CSO, my problem is I'm really interested in the scaling deep. But you can also ask, if I scale in, does that mean that I will scale deep, for example? I don't know. Is there a relation there? So you can also try to frame your application around this kind of question. That for us and for the ScaleDEM team would be extremely interesting, and that's also a tip if you want to put forward a good application. I don't know, Antoine, if you are here, if you would like to add something before we move forward and go more in the programs.
No, hello everyone. Thank you, Camille, for the explanation. The more I hear it, the clearer it is. No, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for being there with us on that presentation. I won't take too much time.
Thank you, Antoine. So now I'll give back the floor, I think, to Ina, or is it to Niels? Or Ina, we'll give it to Niels.
Yes, let's play a little and build some rows. Yes, we would like to now give you an overview over our Scaling Ground programs. If you have any questions, we have the Q&A session afterwards and after the eligibility input from Tiana. So Niels, please, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ina. I hope I'm getting through clearly. So, as Camille said, these are the 4 dimensions of scaling that we are working with. And when we're going to the scaling grounds, that's where we really want to see these scaling dimensions being addressed and seeing them being carried out in real life. So addressing these things through different kinds of actions. And we've prepared 2 tracks within these scaling grounds that have the same overall purpose, which is to try out working with scaling, but with different approaches. So the 2 scaling grounds being piloting and twinning, the 2 different programs. The aim of the piloting program is to test both democratic innovations in the real world. This is for concepts that have not been tried out yet. It's ideas of how to scale in a way that we have not seen yet, or that maybe we have an indication of, but it has yet to be tested. So this is where we want to support pilot projects that test new and innovative ideas that addresses one or more of these scaling dimensions within a project of democratic innovation itself. So what we want to see here is that is projects that scale democratic innovations through new methods, and essentially using this approach to increase the democratic resilience and to deepen citizen engagement. So this path is for the new approaches, the new concepts, and for the ideas that are among you guys. The other program, the twinning program, is about testing something where we already have an idea that this might be working. So the twinning program is about facilitating a learning community where we match a mentor with one or up to 4 mentees. And the point here is that there are some organizations and some people out here in this field that have managed to scale democratic innovations through different types of actions. And so they have managed to address one or more of the 4 dimensions. And we want to use that resource, the knowledge, the experience, and spread it out among other people who are working with democratic innovation, but have yet to understand and to know and learn how to actually scale that democratic innovation. So the aim of the twinning program is to find the potential mentors who have an idea of how you can actually scale, and they've tried it out previously, and connect them to people who are working with a project, but want guidance on how to scale it, and want guidance on from someone who has the experience. So this is more of a learning community where you together would be exploring how scaling pathways can be translated from the context of the mentor into your context. So if I could get the next slide here, the format of the 2 programs are slightly different. Both are running over the course of a year, so 12 months. For the piloting program, we're granting up to 100,000 euros funding per project. And with that being said, we will fund at least 5 projects depending on the applications that come in. And of course, here we're also offering a kind of a coaching and mentoring within the projects itself. And what we really want to encourage here is that this is a fail-safe environment. We're experimenting, we're trying out new ideas. So we learn from failures as well. It's not a requirement to succeed on all fronts, but it's a requirement to try to experiment with these kinds of new scaling approaches that you have ideas on. The twinning program, we're funding communities consisting of a mentor and some mentees. And these communities can be funded with up to 65,000 euros. And what we're funding here is the time being spent within the community. So it's resources in terms of the hours a mentor and a mentee would each spend together, and that the mentees would spend to try to implement what they agree on with the mentor. And of course, also the resources necessary, the direct cost for resources for implementing what's being agreed on. We want to create a minimum of 8 communities, and we will be doing the matchmaking. So we are receiving, and we will receive more, I assume and hope, more applications for mentors and mentees, where we then will matchmake based on the experiences the mentors are offering to share and the needs that mentees are asking to have addressed. For the last slide that I would like to present on the target groups, we're welcoming a broad target group here. Your organization can be public, it can be private, it can be an NGO, a company, administration. We're welcoming that, and we're also welcoming full consortia or some single applicants. Specifically for the twinning program, you can apply as a consortia in the sense that you have identified a mentor and some potential mentees. For that, we would still need you to make a proposal individually as a mentor and then as a group of mentees, and then indicate that you would like to be paired up. Please also then indicate whether you're open for more mentees to become a part of your community, because there may be some other mentees that could benefit from this community that you want to create. What we do have as a requirement is that you do have some form of experience with democratic innovation. So you want to work with democratic innovation, but it can be within different kinds of fields. It doesn't have to be a full-on practitioner doing participatory budgeting exclusively, but you can come from the educational fields, you can work with culture, you can come from policymaking. And the same goes with the core of the project. You can span over diverse topics, diverse regions, and diverse scaling approaches. So basically, we're very open to your ideas, and we really want to be surprised by what you have to share and what you want to try out. And our basic requirement is that we want to work together with someone who has some practitioners who want to do something in real life and has experience with working with democratic innovation. You have a project idea or a project going on, and you wish to scale it. That's what we really want to work together with. I think that's it for my overview of the two programs within the Scaling Ground. So I'm going to give back the floor to Ina.
Yes, thank you very much, Nils, for this overview over the two programs. And now I would like to give the floor to Tiana, who will tell us how the eligibility and the selection criteria works for this program. Please, Tiana, thank you.
Thank you, Ina. I apologize if I sound a bit underwater. I'm still recovering from a cold, but let's get through this. I hope everyone understands me quite clear. All right, so first we will start with the selection criteria. First, as we said that, I'm sorry, my notes are a bit mixed up. We said in terms of evaluation, all eligible proposals are assessed by the independent jury using 5 main criteria points, each scored from 0 to 5. Proposals must meet the minimum threshold for every criterion to be considered fundable. So we can start now with relevance. So as you could see, threshold is from 4 until 5. And this means how clearly the objective and target groups are defined and how well the proposal builds on the ScaleDEM learning. And this weight factors is 30%. Then we have impact. This means to which extent the project can address a real democratic challenge. It creates value for communities and can be replicated or scaled. And this weight factor is 25%. Then we have the team quality, which is the experience, the skills, the motivation, the diversity of the team, including a good track record of shared results. And this is 25%. Then we have the justified resource allocations. Please pay attention to this one, since we have to look at the bigger picture on the finances as well. This means whether the budget is realistic and well aligned with the work plan and expected results, and this weights 15%. And then lastly, we have sustainability. This means what is the likelihood that the results will continue beyond the ScaleDEM funding through ongoing work, partnerships, or platforms, and this weights 5%. And among all fundable proposals, the weighted overall score is used for the final ranking. Then we can continue to the actual evaluation process, which is first we start, the SUD team starts with the eligibility check. This basically verifies requirements such as country eligibility, organization type, completeness of the application, and required declaration. Please note that ineligible or incomplete applications cannot be evaluated. Then we have the eligible applications, which are then assessed by the independent jury that we as a consortium and SUD forms it as well. Each CAL has its own jury, bringing together the ScaleDEM Scientific Advisory Board and User Advisory Board, random selected citizens, that is through the SUD Citizens Jury, and consortium partners. And based all on these scores, the jury establishes a short list, and the short list applicants may be invited to a short online interview. Especially for the twinning program, these interviews also help shape strong and viable mentor-mentee coalitions. Then finally, the jury agrees on a final ranking and selection list. If proposals receive a quite similar score, then aspects such as the geographic balance may be used as a tiebreaker. All applicants are informed of the outcome, and a summary of results and statistics is published on the ScaleDEM website. Then we can finally move on to the timeline. So as all of you know, the call for submission was open in December 2025. Then this is a very important announcement that the declaration of interest deadline was extended to the 13th of February. So you still have some time since the original deadline was 31st of January. And this is purely voluntarily, but I think it is quite necessary to have more a feedback before all of you submit the actual proposal. So for the declaration of interest, you would outline your project idea and scaling challenges that you want to address, and then we will answer any questions and provide feedback to help you prepare a stronger application. And we have already done this 2 weeks ago with the first assessment, and now we are in process of doing the last assessment before and after the deadline of the declaration of interest, not after the deadline of the actual applications. Then the application deadline is 31st of March 2026, and you will be notified of results around July 2026. As I said, eligibility check goes right after the deadline of the applications. Then once you're notified in July, we will set a sub-grant agreement, and this has to be finalized and signed by September 2026. Both programs will kick off with a joint in-person meeting in Cascais, Portugal, the current European Capital of Democracy, in autumn 2026. And then we will conclude with a final in-person meeting in the Capital of Democracy in late 2027. In terms of evaluation, we have also, I think we have covered everything, and this is where I stop. And please do let me know if there are some questions, especially with the declaration of interest. I have gotten a lot of emails, people being afraid that this is required and not being able to apply in time. Don't worry, the declaration of interest is not mandatory. It is purely voluntary, and it has no influence on your actual application, regardless of the feedback that we give.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Tiana, for this overview and for those updated deadlines. I would now like to open the floor for the general questions. Is there anything you need to know about the ScaleDEM project, about our theory of change, about the scaling dimensions, or any questions regarding the application and evaluation process? So you're now free to raise your hand, and we will give you the answers for that. I'm already seeing 2 raised hands. So, Tiana, is everybody able to unmute themselves? Wonderful. Thank you very much. Then let's start with Pilka. Younes. Please unmute yourself and, if possible, switch on your video.
I'm sorry. I think now they can unmute themselves. I thought I gave them the access. Please try, because now,
Okay, can you hear me
yes,
now?
there you go.
Yes,
Yes, we
thank
can
you
hear
so
you.
much. Yes, I'm Pirkko from Finland. Nice to very good session by far. Thank you for everyone. But I have one question because we made a declaration of interest from Finland today, and we put that starting time for the declaration of interest. It is starting. Our plan was starting on August, but of course it might be changeable because I believe it's not possible to start project before October. Or have I misunderstood something?
No, actually, you do not have to start within the funding period. You can start sometime earlier, but I believe the main parts of your project have to be implemented during our funding project phase. So you do not have to artificially delay your starting time of the project.
Thank you so much for
Yes,
clarifying.
you're welcome. Next question is Dre Babic. Sorry if I'm butchering your name.
No, very good. Much better than first attempts I've heard before. I have one question. Thank you again. This was super helpful. You did mention that you offer pre-application support. Is there a way to apply for that, or is the declaration of interest that?
Yes, indeed. It's the declaration of interest. You receive, if you fill out the form, it's like more of a small fun survey to fill in, and
Yeah, the scales.
yes, the scales, and receive some feedback, some short feedback on the application, notes what is still missing or what you could take more into account in your full proposal. But yeah, that's it.
Great.
And
And,
if you have any other questions regarding the application process or like the formality, the administrative side of everything, you're always free to write us at opencalls@scaledem.eu. Then you will also receive answers. But we cannot like analyze and pre-advise on like each and every project.
Yeah, of course. I have a mini question, and it's about one of the financial form in the piloting application.
Yes.
I'm just a little bit confused about, let me get there, the difference between cost over 12 months and then 12 total in euros. Because maybe this is a question for the open calls email.
So, yeah, Camille, do you want to answer that?
I don't have the form right now on the DI, so perhaps Dre, you can send it via email, and we are updating our Q&A based on all the question and answers submitted today. And if it's something that is not already in the Q&A, we will include the answers for everyone to see. Since I have the floor, because I see some questions in the chat also on the declaration of intent. So just to stress, the declaration of intent first is not mandatory. Second, if you submit a declaration of intent, you have the right still after our feedback to change completely your ID. You don't need to go forward with the ID you had originally submitted. Third, we try to give you a qualitative feedback within more or less 10-ish days. Bear with us because after these calls, we always get a wave of 90 declaration of intent. So it takes us sometimes to deal with them properly. And typically the feedback can be, oh, okay, this is actually, you nailed it. we encourage you to go for it. Or it can be actually, you could also be a very good candidate for the other program if you want it. But the idea is also with this little feedback, it's short, but it's to help you a bit perhaps understand how to frame your application with what you're scaling, because we are aware that our jargon might be a bit, complicated, or you have your own ideas. So it's also to help you. Actually, you would be a very good candidate for scaling in, scaling deep. We encourage you to think about this. So the feedback is sometimes just 2 or 3 questions, but we hope it's helpful. So yeah, not obligatory. You get feedback within 10 days, and you have the right to change after you receive the feedback.
Yes. Thank you, Camille, for pointing this out too. Yeah, and we will get back to you and update the Q&A form regarding those financial questions. Thank you. The next in line is Ruth Mulandi.
Thank you very much. Hello. Not so much a question whether you could apply twice yourself, but maybe a slightly unusual or not so common circumstance. I'm from the Economy for the Common Good. I'm from the International Federation, which is the umbrella body for the Common Good movement, and there are many organizations within our movement. And in this same room here today is our lovely Austrian association. The question really is, we are separate legal entities, but does it make sense for the International Federation to put in one application and the Austrian Federation to put in an application, even though we're separate entities? Or are we kind of getting in each other's way? And this is a completely open question. You can tell me how the perception would be, you know what I mean? Because we're part of one and the same movement, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes, thank you very much for this question. Camille, please correct me if I get the answer wrong.
Yes.
I would say if you apply for the same project, then we need only one application. You could name in your organization one lead and maybe a consortium, and that would be it. So it's not that every part of the consortium has to apply with the same project. But of course, you can apply with different projects. You can, as a umbrella organization, apply with your project, and if you have another organization with under your wings or under your umbrella, so to say, and they have some totally different project, of course they're free to apply.
Yes, but I think if you allow me, Ruth, it's a good question, because we have had, of course, this, notably the twinning program has raised the interest of a certain number of networked organizations who have members. As Niels mentioned in his presentation, the twinning program, notably, you can apply as an individual applicant. For example, I'm a city, I have a project, I'm going to do it, but I'm most likely know that I'm going to hit a wall, because I always hit it. And I wouldn't mind being put within a learning community. And here we are offering fundings to help you learn and eventually try to think about how you can overcome that break next time. And we give you financial resource so you block the time to do it, which is, we think, pretty nice. But you can apply as a lonely applicant, but you can also be a city is part of a network of cities, for example, and they can apply, 3 different cities as part of this network can apply together within already a sort of 3 mentees together. And you can suggest a mentee because you're a mentor, because we know that this other city, which is also part of a network, has actually succeeded in doing it, for example. So this is also a configuration. Now, I'm just a word of caution, because you're not network are not eligible for piloting either. But piloting, most of the budget is I would say really you remember the selection criteria. Impact is something that is going to be very important in the selection criteria, especially for the piloting, because the fund is supposed to go a lot for implementation of the action. So you need to limit, I would say, too much of overhead or personal cost there, if I were you. So if you are kind of a secretariat network organization, be careful, I would say, not to divide your funding too much there. We will not be the jury, but the jury for the piloting will really look at, how much the action is going to change the life of people on the ground. So the budget cannot go for, I would say, network secretariat too much there. So yeah, I hope that gives you some hints.
Wonderful. Thank you, Camille, for this addition. If you have any more questions, Ruth, you still have your hands raised? Okay, so then next in line would be Pablo.
Hello, everyone. Here, Pablo from Cannes, Europe. Thanks so much for the info session. And I wanted to ask very briefly. I saw in the document of the open call, in the types of democratic innovations, the examples are for example, in the administrative innovation or the deliberative innovation or participatory innovations. All the examples are very local, no? And we have a project to strengthen, facilitate for citizens to engage in EU policy processes to influence the policies on climate and energy. And we were wondering if this concept of scaling high could be also including EU institutions and the directives at the EU level, for example, no, or they should be very local processes. Thanks.
No, thank you for this question. We do not have a certain geographical scope. You're welcome to submit project ideas and proposals on a very local or international, maybe cross-border, but also EU level. So this is something you can do. So if your scope is involving citizens in EU processes, then this definitely is of interest for us.
Amazing. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Sorry, not just to interrupt real quick. I know that some participants had issues with the translation. Now we fixed it, and this session is also being translated. As I can see that you can go on apps and you can select Wordly, and Wordly will translate on your original language that you speak.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tiana, for this live troubleshooting. I hope this helps. Of course, also we will have the recording of this info session later on. So if you missed some information or need to hear it again, you are very free to do that afterwards. Thank you. The next in line would be Pierre Silverberg. We cannot hear you. You have to unmute yourself.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, hi. Thank you very much for this introduction and the initiative of ScaleDEM. I had a bit of a strategic question. We do have a bit of experience also in scaling different approaches and trying to resolve some blocks on the road. So we would love to share that, of course, share our experience and so. But on a strategic point of view, we would, of course, prefer to experiment in our own piloting projects. So my question is a bit could we introduce a project in both piloting and twinning? And if we do so, is there a risk for us to be reoriented towards, let's say, the twinning, while we would prefer to actually try to test something new out? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for this question. This is also a question that was asked several times via email and also in the last session. Indeed, this risk exists. You can apply with the same project in both programs, but you will fund it only in one. And the jury will decide which one this will be. And so we have to, well, not we, but the jury will have to decide regarding the variety and the depths and the scaling dimensions that how we compose the mentor-mentee communities and the piloting programs that are going to be funded. But yeah, you can apply to both, but you will receive only funding for one and will, have to face this this risk that you will be selected only for the less favorable program for you.
Okay, but could we like for like just a signal into our application that we would prefer one of both programs?
Yes, you can do that. But if I may develop, because it's a question that has a lot of follow-up question to it, and it's one that we receive often, and I feel like in the chat it was also asked. So two things. Everybody here can apply as I would say, a project coordinator or lead applicants to both programs. But as lead applicant, you can only get the funding to one of these two programs. In the unlikely event, it might be, but in the unlikely event that you are selected in the 5 selected as lead applicant for the pilot, and you are in one of the twinning as a lead applicant we will most likely the jury will say where they would rather have you, and they would submit this option to you, which you are still, I would say, free to refuse. We're not going to force you. So that's one thing. You, on the other hand, can apply, for example, in your case, Pierre, as a lead applicant for the pilot with your organization, and you can apply eventually as I don't know, freelancer or individual mentor within the twinning. So not as a lead applicant within a consortium for the twinning. So if you want, you can be, there is a scenario as well, it's pretty unlikely. I mean, it will depend on how many applications we get at the end, but it's not impossible to receive the funding and participate in one program as a lead applicant and in the other as just a normal partner, if you want, under another lead coordinator. So it's important to know that. Remember though that what Tiana said, in case of a tie, we will opt for projects that allow us to cover a lot of geographical scope. So in order to have as much diversity as we can in our participants to a program. Yeah, I hope that answers a bit.
Yeah, kind of. Thank you.
Thank you, Camille, for making this clearer. Thank you very much, and also for this question, Pierre. The next person in line would be Özün Oda.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all this information. I would like to follow up on this diversity aspect that Camille just mentioned, and I am wondering what type of diversity are you referring to? Is it country diversity? Is it ethnic diversity? Is it gender diversity? Is it institutional diversity? Or is it all of these?
It is all of these. We really reach for diversity in the most various aspects as possible. Mm-hmm.
I think it also goes back, Özün, to one of the things that we are investigating as part of ScaleDEM. Can democratic innovation...
Der fällt hier ein bisschen hier. So irgendwie.
Can democratic innovation, I mean, we know that copy pasting, has limits. Of course, life doesn't work like this. So how much adaptation do we need to do for democratic innovation to still be impactful across different contexts? So context here, I would say, is mostly sectorals, for example, to move from something that works very well in a parliament or in a municipality. Does it work well in a company, in a shareholder boards, in a school, within parents, teachers, for example, meetings? Does it work easily? If it works in Germany, how much do we need to adapt it for it to work in Turkey? Something that works very well with this minority group, how much do I need to adapt it to work with another minority group? So yeah, those are what we mean by context. And for sure, what we do not want is to only have projects looking at, I don't know, German municipalities, for example.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. I have the next hand in line from Adela.
Hello, everybody. Sorry for not having my video on. So I was wondering about that twinning program and applying as a mentee, because there is something that we would like to scale in probably as a mentee, but as I've understood, a mentor will be decided based on the idea of mentees, or is that shall we as an organization find our mentors, or it will be matching through the program, through the platform of the ScaleDEM?
Thank you for this question. You as an applying mentee can suggest a mentor, and the jury will take this into account, of course. But if you don't have like a mentor ready at hand, then we will match the communities between mentors and mentees accordingly to the scaling gap they are addressing. It's not necessarily the project idea, so we do not necessarily match, like for example, only projects that try to reach more variety in their participants and of their democratic innovations, but it's more like the scaling gap that they are trying to address.
Okay, is that in the phase of the preparation of the project, or we send the example initiative as a mentees, and then you are matching us within this period till the project preparation is done and deadline for the project application?
Yes, I mean, concretely, first thing, it's important to say that there are different configuration in which you can apply for the twinning program as a mentees. Indeed, you can apply with already a group of other mentees, and you already have an idea of your mentor, so you have a pretty developed idea already of what you want to do. You can apply just one mentee with your mentor, and you are open to be matched with other mentees, and that's a bit the idea. I mean, if you apply to the twinning, you need to be a bit open-minded to meet other people. That's the point of
Great.
twinnings. And then you can also apply alone, and it's important for us to say that you won't be discriminated if you do that. And we really ask also the people who are already applying with a fixed ID and the twinning community of other mentees to be open eventually to the idea that there might be a single applicant that will join. And of course, we will not force this upon you. Based on, of course, the pitch that you make in your application. If we select you, we will suggest a twinning coalition with a mentor, and you will be free to say no, of course. And we will discuss this at the grant agreement stage. Yes, and there was a question also more or less related to that in the chat at some point, which is it's also at this stage when we will be doing this meet and match stage that we will ask you together as a twinning community to agree on a budget that works for all of you. So the budget is the 65,000 and it will need to be split among all of you. So we ask you a little bit in the application phase already for the mentees and the mentors to tell us what would be, the financial amount that you would need for you to be able to take part in a twinning community you think comfortably, knowing that it's mostly about peer exchange, knowledge exchange. But this is not binding. It will be rediscussed after. It's just for us to have an idea of, of the expectation and what you would need in order to do this actively and constructively.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Next in line with the question is Jacek. Please.
Hello, I'm wondering if this is the first edition of ScaleDEM, because I'm looking for inspirations how to, present my project. This is something else that I can check before that could be useful for me to get that kind of inspiration about the ScaleDEM. Thank you.
Well, ScaleDEM as it is the first of its kind, so to say. Like having this big consortium and the research question, and also like testing the findings of the research question in real world programs, and then like answering to those questions on the grounds of the findings of the implementation. This is something very new, but of course there are some pre-works regarding scaling and democratic innovations. There was this Nets for Dem network and project also by the EU Horizon. I believe that we well, not cooperate with, that's maybe too much to say, but we are very like looking very friendly at each other, so to say. But Camille, maybe you have some better and more deep information than I have.
Yeah, also a question that we got last time. So ScaleDEM, unfortunately, being an Horizon project, there is no guarantee that there will be a ScaleDEM 2.0. So the ScaleDEM are open now, and for sure, until we will not do unless but that would be unlikely. We continue after 2028. There will not be a second open call. So this is now, and there won't be another. That being said, we are a sister project with other Horizon Europe that do similar initiative, although not on scaling. Ina mentioned Let's for Them, and we are happy to redirect you also to other initiatives if you think this is not the one that you need, Jacek.
Thank you. Adela, I still see your hand raised. Do you have another question, or is it so to
Sorry,
say
I
old
just
hand?
forgot to.
No problem, absolutely no problem. Then the next in line for me is Sarah from Bund.
Yes, hello, thank you. And sorry if I'm a bit slow in understanding the whole process or if I'm not getting it correctly, but that's why I'm asking again. So I think in the chat there were some questions. So it's like about 5 organizations get funded within the piloting program, and about 8 communities get funded within the twinning program. But that would mean that they would have to split the 65,000 euros, right? So it would be, I don't know, like 30,000 each or something like that. And also, what I'm not quite sure if I understand correctly, do you apply as a mentor also in the twinning program, or are you a mentor when you apply in the piloting program automatically? So maybe I didn't get that right.
No problem. We're here to clear all those things up. The number of projects that are going to be funded with the piloting program is at least 5 projects, but it's of course possible to fund more projects. But we would of course try to limit the maximum number of projects, but we can say, okay, it's 10 or 12 or 15 or 8. We cannot say this for the piloting program right now, because of course we have to see what the budget needs of the projects are that are going to be selected. Also, for the twinning program, there are up to 8 communities that are going to be funded, and each community receives 65,000 euros to distribute within itself. So it's not like we have 65,000 euros divided through 8 communities, but each community will receive those 65,000 euros, but each community consists of 1 mentor and several mentees. I believe we aim for 4 mentees in each community.
Yes, but if I may, it's important to understand that for the pilot, there is expectation that you deliver on the ground something. You run a pilot project, and hence you will have a lot of direct costs. And that's why you have 100,000 euros, because depending on where you do it, direct costs can be quite expensive. You can also, by the way, ask much less than that. And then in that case, we would have more than 5 pilot projects. For the twinnings, the expectation is somehow different. It's a learning community. So it can be that you go into it because you already have a running project, but you need a little bit the top up to gain the insights in order to improve your project, or you don't necessarily have a project right now, but you want to take this opportunity to be more of a capacity building program. So the fees, if you want, are here to pay your own personal costs somehow to block the time. There is no expectation then within indeed this much smaller amount, you implement an entire project from scratch.
And also for the second question that you asked, if you apply for a piloting program, you're not automatically registered as a mentor or a mentee. Those are 2 separate programs that you have to separately apply for. There's no automation in between those. We, of course, will try to make those both programs as how to say in English? I'm very sorry. Those are two parallel programs, and they are like separate, and each have a separate logic. But we of course try to do some cross-pollination between the both programs. But this is within the funding period. This is within the capacity building events that we're going to plan. But it's not that one mentor from the twinning program is going to mentor a project from the piloting program. That is not what we had in mind.
Thank you.
You want to add something to that, Camille, or did I explain it right? Okay, wonderful. Then the next in line would be Florian Maurer.
Yes, hello. Thank you for this meeting and this info session. I have a question. So I'm in the field of information systems engineering, and I'm working on an app that is for decision support and democratic decisions to coordinate between conflict and cooperation between actors. And I would like to address topic digital and AI innovations according to the ScaleDEM question and answers document. And the question is, are we eligible? Because we are just developing an app that is available for the public to make better decisions. So it's also public for decision makers in political and governmental context, social context. And do we need then just the release of the app, or do we also need to go into the field, make a kind of a case, and test and demonstrate this app?
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for this question. We actually had this question also quite a few times in the last session. It's important to, digital or hybrid democratic tools and applications are not per se not eligible. Indeed, we encourage also digital innovations to apply for the both programs. But it's important to note that this is not a seed funding call. So we cannot fund the implementation of an app. But we would fund, for example, if you have a project at hand where you test the app and enhance the app and enhance the project or a process or a decision-making process with your app, this is something that would be eligible. It really depends on what scaling aspect or scaling dimension or scaling gap you would want to address with your app. But we would not only fund an app that says, okay, I want to help with decision making. You really would have to translate into a real world project.
Okay, yes. We really need a business case with a partner, for example, a municipality. Or
you need to be able to test it during the Scaling Grounds program period. That's what Ina means by it's not seed funding. We cannot only with the funding. You cannot only do development of your app. It needs to go on top to finish eventually the development. But most importantly, you need to test it and you need to be able to tell us if whether or not it helps scaling basically.
Okay, 1/3 of the project duration could be the implementation of the app, and 2/3 is then the demonstration, the piloting.
That would be okay. We don't have as long as you can make a case for financially it could work out to reassure the selection jury, and second, you will be able to tell us something about whether it helps to scale or not by the end of the project. Those are the two important things. How then you split the budget is to your discretion, but you need to meet these two criteria. It needs to be financially, it needs to host together, and we need to be able to have an implementation testing phase.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you for this question. I don't see any more raised hands. There was one hand raised, but it was lowered like a second ago. So you are very welcome to raise your hand again. Otherwise, if there are no urgent questions, then I would like to encourage everybody who posed a question in the chat and hasn't received an answer yet to also raise the hand. You see, with like 150 participants, we maybe overlook one or two chat messages, even if we really try to find and answer anything. So if you asked a question and haven't received an answer yet, now it's the time to also vocally tell us your question, not only in writing in the chat. So I do the next hand with Linda.
Hello, hi. I had just coming another question for the twinning program. We are already working, we were working on a project already, and we want to make it bigger in the impact. So, but I was not sure if I understood it correctly, that in the twinning program it will be more really about the exchange and the learning, and we would not have budget to really like realize the project in real life, because the time would be more on learning, exchanging in the community. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
So if you really, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Camille.
I mean, there are different configurations for the twinning. You can go into it because you are, for example, a municipality or an NGO, and you already have a project that is going to unfold. And you are just looking and you know it's going to hit a hole. You know that it's going to be very difficult. You don't have the money, for example, to reach out to this particular group. You don't have the money to include, I don't know, graffiti artists, and you're interested in seeing if you do it, it will scale, it will help scale deep my impact. Or you don't have money to include policymakers or through whatever means. If you're just looking for a little additional financial top up through the twinning, you can also use the money not only to learn how to do that, but to actually use it to top it. So if you want, the twinning is a good option for people who are looking for co-financing also. But
Okay.
you don't have to already have an ongoing project. You might just want to apply just because you want to learn, and this will just pay your time and the one of your colleague to really take part actively in the coalition and learn. But it might be that in your coalition, 3 people will learn and one will have a project, and we already want to implement a little bit the learnings because the money would be enough because it's just a top up if you want. So there are different scenarios here.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Camille, for that. And also be aware that, as we said before, the distribution of the grant sum for the learning community is up to the learning community itself. So what Camille said, like the on top funding for realization of projects would not be overly extensive, probably, like in an amount of the money that you could use for that. But it, of course, depends on the community. So I have one more question from Agnes.
Hello, I'm Agnes from Hungary, and my question is that is it possible to do regranting in our program? So if we can give support within our budget to a third party in our program.
Ooh, that's a good question. We haven't thought about that.
No, we are already third. This is already a third, cascade funding, third party granting system that we are doing here. I'm not sure the EU would allow a fourth granting. I do not know if there is precedent there. I would need to ask, honestly. I cannot answer right now. But my intuition would be no. But we will ask.
Thank you. Okay.
I believe the main question we have to ask ourselves still is in what way would this project really work on a scaling gap for democratic innovation? So what, how would you be able to prove or describe the impact that the program has. So this is also a question, but of course it's also, as Camille said, an eligibility question. So we have to get back to you on that.
Important thing to say though is that eventually, because it's also a question we got via email, subcontracting costs eventually are eligible. You just need in your application to make the case as to why you need to subcontract, because you can't do it yourself. For example, for the piloting, or you don't need already to say who are your subcontractors going to be, that if you can give an indication of who they are and hence why they are complementary to your own expertise and why you need them, this would be good. But that's slightly different than your question, and yes, but
No, thank you. It's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for this question. We are already learning some new questions, so yeah, this will also interesting for us to solve. I see one more hand from Sarah.
Hello, thank you for the information call. I was wondering if it's possible to have one-to-one calls. I'm with the ISWE and the Global Citizens Assembly, and we have a lot of different projects. So we have the Global Mini Public, and we support community assemblies, and we have a digital platform for that. And I just kind of see that there could be a lot of different ways that we could propose the project. So I think it might benefit us to have a one-to-one call directly with someone from your team. So I wanted to know if that was possible.
So we do not. Thanks for asking, Sarah. For a reason that I think you can understand, looking at the number of people here and knowing that we were almost 300 in the first InfoSession, we cannot do one-on-one call. At least not when it comes to the selection process of the scaling grounds, because then it's not fair. We would need to do it to all applicants. Now, of course, if you're interested in other eventually activities of the ScaleDEM project. For example, we have an entire work package on partnership, because we have a certain amount of activities and how we can together work on the tier of scaling beyond the scaling grounds. On that, we can do a bilateral call, but not when it comes to the selection process of these calls, because that puts us in a gray zone that wouldn't be fair for all applicants. That's why we have put the DOI. That's the best we could do.
Yeah, I also wanted to add that your best bet would be the declaration of interest, even if you're in consortium and if you're thinking of multiple project outlines. Just fill in the declaration of interest and we'll give you a feedback on that. But one-on-one calls is unfortunately not possible.
Thank you for that. I see another hand raised by Benoit.
Yeah, thank you. Benoit from France. Sorry, one question to make it clear about the twinning program, because twinning is a little bit complex, I would say. But it seems to be very flexible also, and so it's a good thing. You say that it was possible in the frame of the twinning program to apply as a mentor on one side, for example, and on the other side, to have a group of mentees in a separate application. And saying that both could be paired together. Is it right? Yeah, is my understanding correct?
So this is in the case where hi Benoit. Don't know why I want to call you
Hi.
Olivier. So if I understand right, you are considering an application for twinning in which you basically have an idea of the entire coalition. You have an idea who would be your mentor and who are the twinning. Yes.
Yeah.
So in that case, you need to apply. You need to make one application. I'm speaking under the control of Niels, who is our twinning program coordinator. But you need to make one application as a consortium for the mentees, following the mentees track of this application. And then you say there that you want to be matched with this mentor, and you do an individual application for mentor, saying that this is the problem and the expertise that you bring, and you can refer to the mentees application. But if, as I said before, if you want to apply already together, even though you apply twice, both times, please make it clear whether you are open to have an additional mentee being added.
Okay. Okay.
So
And thank you for your answer. And so in that case, meaning that we come with a quite well-defined group with mentees and mentor. What about the financing? The 65K euros would be split among mentor and mentees,
yes,
or only mentees
no, altogether.
altogether?
But you decide. The idea is that if you are, once you are selected,
Yeah.
we will task you to discuss among yourself and agree on a budget.
Okay.
And then if you don't manage, we will help you make a proposal. But you don't need to already have a fully fledged budget for twinning at the application stage. You just need to give us an indication for the mentor of what would be a annual, hourly fee, and same for the mentees, what would be the fund that I would need in order to do this comfortably.
Okay.
So it's just to give an indication.
And one more question, if I may. We are not sure about the program we would like to apply. So we are hesitating, and but we would like also not to waste too much time with both applying process. With two different applying process, one for piloting and one for twinning, even if it's possible, as you said. But so does the the pre-submission process could help us
Yes.
to decide whether it's better to
Yes.
choose each program?
It was originally designed for that, actually, right, Ina?
Yes.
It was
Yes,
mostly for
for
people undecided.
absolutely. It gives you a hint. Of course, you're still free to apply to whatever program you think suits you best. But there are like questions, and depending on your answer, you will receive a suggestion. We would suggest you go forward with applying for twinning or for piloting. And if it's unsure, if it's still unsure, then of course this will also be indicated when you submit it, and also you will receive a short written feedback that was like manually analyzed and put in via email to you within the 10 days at least.
Yeah. But the DOI was there for that. So
Yes.
if you're hesitating, don't start writing twice to application. Just submit it, and then it will give you an indication, and we double check after, because of course
Yes.
this little survey can be misleading. We
Yes.
double check and we send you feedback.
And also the declaration of intent is a very low-key formal process. So you need a short project description, and then just answer some questions and put on some scales. So this is pretty easy to fill out and not that much time consuming.
Okay,
Thank
you very much.
I see more questions from Batanai Mutasa. You're the next.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. I hope you can hear me well.
We can.
Wonderful, wonderful. I was a bit confused on the twinning program. I was looking at the DOI, and I'd noticed that there is a project description, but I wasn't really sure which of the various initiatives I would like to bring to ScaleDEM. I think you have answered that and said maybe through feedback that can be changed. But I also want to ask on the novelty of the project, to say, can I scale up something that's already being implemented in another country and then bring it to another context and use it and scale it through this program, and it not being a very new initiative in the globe, but something that I'm adopting from somewhere and then trying to implement it in another setting?
Yes, that's absolutely what we understand scaling can be like. You see or find or take something that works in one context and transplant it to another context, adapt it to another context, and see what the impact it would have there. And the context can be geographically, it can be on the topic, it can be on the target groups that you take on, it can be on the institutions that you involve in this adaptation. But yes, this is something that we would understand as scaling.
Yes, that would be scaling out. And if you come up with a project like this, which I'm assuming perhaps many of you are considering, we really encourage you to think about, okay, what are the adaptation I need to do for this to work? Because obviously it's never just copy pasting. So here you're really testing a bit the replicability, but under which condition? So also try to ask yourself this question. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
Welcome.
Thank you. Next question, David, you are welcome to ask a question.
Thank you, Ina. I wish to apologize that I may not be able to show my video because of a bandwidth challenge.
Yeah.
But my question is to do with eligible context, eligible locations or countries where you have a consortium that have worked together on some things before, and the projects are ongoing in different locations, but some of the locations might not be eligible countries. Can such group apply, and will we include such locations?
On eligibility, I can take it, Ina. So
Thank you.
I cannot really answer to you, David, because you didn't really mention which location. In itself, the fact that the fact that people have worked together previously is not a problem. We have all worked most likely together previously at some point. We would not be able to grant many people if we're applying that rule. What matters is that some entities established in certain countries cannot receive EU money through this grant. This is just legal, and there's nothing we can do about it. The good news is under ScaleDEM, this list is actually, I mean, the list of countries we can cover is pretty big. If you look in our Q&A, there is an hyperlink that takes you to an annex, and you will see there is a lot of countries in the EU, associated country to Horizon. So you know, not EU, but like Switzerland, the UK now again, Turkey, Norway. And then there is a certain amount of countries across the globe that the EU called low and middle income. And that includes a lot of countries from Latin America, South America, Africa, Central Asia as well, the Balkan. Does not include the US and Australia. I'm anticipating that question. But that is the only, in terms of where, this is the only hard eligibility rule. It's where the country, if the country is on this list, we can fund. If it's not, we cannot fund.
And the question, if there some countries are on the list and others are not on the list, but those all countries form together a consortium to apply to?
Yes.
I believe this was your question, David, right?
Yes. In
Yes.
your consortium, it needs to be countries that are on this list.
Okay.
All of them. Okay.
All of them. Or you can suggest countries in this list that you can suggest in your consortium countries that are not in this list if you want them to be a kind of associated partner. But these countries will not be able to fund. They will just be there, I guess, to attend your meeting for free, or they work for free, but we cannot give them funding. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have another question asked by Lucia.
Hello. So thanks for the info session. It was very well structured and everything. So I have a question regarding the twinning program. So as far as I understand it, so it has like a mentor figure and the mentees, right? So I had a question regarding the mentor figure. Could it be composed by two institutions as a consortium, or it would just be one organization?
That would be for Niels to answer.
So ideally, we are looking for individuals from an organization who can act as a mentor, because they would probably have different kinds of experiences to share. So that's what we would be looking for, having like that one person being an anchor as a mentor. So if you do have two potential mentors in mind, please let them apply with each their own mentor application.
Sorry, okay, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, the mentor application is, I think, pretty light and straightforward. Don't hesitate also to mention you are open to, with whom you are open to work. You know, I mean, this will be a fun pair and match exercise that we'll be doing, but and we leave it a bit open because we want to be surprised. But we're also open to I guess really make this work for you. So don't hesitate to give us indication also about what you have in mind. If people have already had discussions before, we cannot commit to follow up on everything, but the more information we have, the easier the pairing will be.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and refer to a question within the chat and ask you, Camille, to consider that, because it's been asked whether it's possible to do re-granting in our programs. Giving a grant to a third party. And within that question, it's also been asked about reallocating the budget for unforeseen changes to the project unfolding.
Yeah, the first one I think we answered right. It was a question of an yes. For third party, I mean, redoing, so the grantee redoing a call like we are doing now, I don't think you can do that. I don't, that would be really surprising if the EU was allowing that. Subcontracting eventually is eligible cost in your budget for the piloting, for example. If you're a municipality and you want to do a pilot, but you don't have a contractor or an NGO yet, you can say that you intend to subcontract, but you need to make the case as why you need to subcontract. It's still, you seem to convince us that you cannot do this yourself. And then for the question of rediscussing the budget once it is when the sub-agreement are being signed, I think first of all, we are going to rediscuss the budget at the moment where we'll be discussing the sub-grant agreement. So the draft budget you are submitting right now during your moment of your application, it can move a little bit because by then you will have perhaps started already, you will have find another co-financing scheme, or I don't know. So this can for sure change. Once we have signed the sub-grant agreement, for sure the amount cannot change because the rest of the fund will have also been distributed to other partners. So that would trigger a cascading effect that we want to avoid. So the total amount cannot be changed. Then if you are a consortium, how you split the budget among yourself, honestly, we need to discuss that internally and check. This will need to be specified in the sub-grant agreement. We have templates, but I'm still working on it, so I do not know all the clauses that are going to be in there by heart. So I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say yes right now. But for sure, it should be on exceptional cases, and it would need to be really argued and defended. So I would say if it's a yes, it's really an exception rather than the rule. Yeah, but to be discussed. We will put an answer to that in the updated Q&A.
Thank you very much for all those questions that you asked and answered. Thank you very much for the team. Are there any questions left? Any things you still wait for an answer for? So now's the time. We still have some minutes left in the meeting, but also if we have no more questions open, then
I saw that, Ben, you had your hand raised and you lowered it.
Yes, right.
Don't know if it was answered. It was answered.
It was answered. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Awesome. That was the plan, to answer every question. So if there are any more urgent or not urgent questions, you still have time to ask them now. If not, if you, after this session and maybe after watching the video and reading the Q&A, you still have questions, feel still free to write us at opencalls@scaledem.eu. you, but I see another hand. Pilka.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to ask, I'm sorry if you already answered that, I have to be offline a bit, but how about traveling costs? Are they also allowed in piloting?
Well, yes, traveling costs are under the budget for the piloting, but of course we could not only fund traveling costs, but if it's, for example, part of the project, then these are within the grant sum.
Yes, you need for the piloting in your draft budget include at least one trip to for one of your staff, for the project lead at least, up to you, you can have more, but the first one for the kickoff, which will be in Portugal this year, and the second one will be in the next European Capital of Democracy in 2027. Competition is still ongoing, so we don't know where that is yet, but should be somewhere in Europe.
Okay, so this is like 2 trips and
2 trips for the pilot, at the beginning and at the conclusion.
Yeah. I'm sorry about this is too detailed, but but is it something that we calculated by the European Commission, this calculation Finland to, I mean like Helsinki to Lisbon and so on, distances?
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying the draft budget is a draft budget. It's approximate because you know we're not asking you.
Yeah, we Finns are too specific. I know. I'm sorry, but thank you for answering.
No, but it's an important question also because we have some international among us, and of course we will not discriminate in the application. And applicants from South Africa, for example, we had a few South African colleagues in the InfoSession 1. We know that some want to apply. Then for them, the international, the traveling costs are going to be a bit higher. So unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. But yeah, you need to factor that in your budget. Yeah.
Yes, what we can do is that we will grant within the budget those heightened travel expenses.
Yeah. And I want to use this moment also on behalf of all. This was very informative and very good session. Thank you so much for organizing this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. So I'm having a look on all the hands not raised. Still time to raise another hand if there's a question left. Otherwise, we will update the Q&A form with the questions and answers that we gave you today here in this meeting. We will also send out the recording of this meeting out via email to you, and we'll also link it on our website, so you still have time to watch it if you have other questions. Just as a reminder, the deadline for the voluntary declaration of interest is February 13th. So you have 2 more weeks to get our decision helper going. And then for the full application for both programs, the deadline will be March 31st. So if that's all, I would like to conclude this meeting. Thank you all very much for joining, for asking your questions, for helping others to see more clearly regarding both programs. We are very much looking forward to your applications and are very eager to see what democratic innovations and scaling gaps you are addressing, and are happy to learn from you and hopefully read and see you again soon. Thank you very much. And also thank you very much for the team and for eCode for hosting, and Camille and Niels for helping with the chat answers. Thank you very much.
Have a nice day, everyone.
Bye.